Welcome back to Central Valley Talk and Artists and Authors. I'm your host, Austin Reed. Hit me up on Facebook, Austin Reed on Air. Also on Instagram and Twitter. Just before the noon hour, we're live on YouTube TV, Facebook, and at centralvalleytalk.com. So happy you're hanging out with us on this Thursday, the 11th of February. I want to talk about our next author that we're going to be highlighting today. His name is Ken Percival, and he's joining us right now live here in our Tower District studios. Now, Ken, before I have you talk, I'm going to read the back of kind of the description of your book so our audience can kind of get a real in-depth feel for it. Does that sound okay?
Great, thanks.
All right, perfect. Now, so the book is called Tungstein, and it's a novel by Ken Percival. The cold and hard truth was that fairness and courage mattered. It led Paddy Tungstein to personal battle using his fists and might to impress physical will upon others. The years collapsed in relentless pursuit of worry, manifesting itself in poor habit. Sometimes that habit caused Tungstein to stumble with mindless nonsense. Some intervened with a hand up. Others demanded something more. His memories wilted with newer events taking some of the past with them. Tungstein compromised to alter that past that had changed in his recollections. It was the aroma of Guinness and Bass ale stirring inner burdens to drag him outside into a world of harsh reality. There were multiple marriages and offspring that indebted him to so much more than a negative savings account. The fact that he was a drunk didn't bother him. He could stop with a single decision to drink no more. Tungstein wasn't ready to take that plunge too early. For some, 62 accompanied a golden handshake with endless retirement benefits. Paddy told himself that sobriety arrived at age 62. He meant it. Such changes in the habit create consequences. Sobriety meant facing misdeeds and outright poor choices. Wives and children reminded Tungstein that his course of life dragged him kicking to others' will. It was a black hole where too few navigated it with fairness and courage. You're from Merced.
Yeah, I am. So this new book I was bringing here to Fresno, and I've got paperback copies. So I wanted to call out to some of the great local bookstores that are in Fresno. You've got Book Barn that's in Clovis. Just a quick shout out to Derek over there. The immense selection of a whole variety of material. They support local authors as well as anything that you'd have an interest in. And you've got Hearts Haven, which is just down the street here in the Tower District. They're over at 950 Van Ness. And then you also have the Book Nook that's on North First Street here in Fresno. So a lot of great places. A lot of communities don't necessarily have independent booksellers.
So how long have you been an author now?
About 15 years I've been writing and self-publishing. And one of the ways that, aside from being able to get the paper books at these local booksellers, is to go out to 321book.shop. And that's a website that features instant reads. And so when you go out to that site, one of the things you can get to real quick is the new book, Tungstein. And it's a 3-in-1 action, fiction, spy thriller, and murder mystery.
My wife would love this book.
Yeah, please share it with her.
I will.
Yeah, so it's written in a screenplay style, so it's meant to be able to take you into it quickly, to be a read that might happen in the evening.
And especially right now in the time of COVID, more people are reading, more people are bored. So this is a good time to release something.
Now the story kind of, if you like Jack Ryan novels, if you follow James Patterson, this will be up that alley. It's sort of in that genre, kind of being a 3-in-1 murder mystery with all of the spy thrilling that you might find in a Jack Ryan novel.
What was your first book?
And first book I had, Himalayan Benediction. It was more of a historical fiction, kind of what happens if a virus plagued us, and we kind of that was one of the first books 15 years ago. So I guess I kind of
you had a
little premonition of the future, right?
Yeah, wow.
Now, my newest book that I'm going to be releasing this summer is called Double Helix, and asks the question: what would you do if you could live forever? Now, that's not the first time that our writers asked that question. Maybe you can think back to the Interview with a Vampire, Anne Rice's book.
Yes,
and so there's a steep price to pay to live forever in that story.
Right.
And so answering that question with this book, it was Double Helix. You get a little sampling of Double Helix at the end of this book. What I've found is that a lot of writers on their books will introduce them to a new story. So towards the end of Tungstein, you get introduced into Double Helix. And so it takes that idea of, hey, if life was eternal, what would you do with it? How might that work? Kind of an idea of having a fountain of youth.
In today's times, is it easier for independent authors to write and release new stuff, new material?
Yeah, so there's a couple pieces to that question, because the first part of it is being able to get beyond the writer's block. A lot of people, when they talk about writing, they talk about the idea of, well, what am I going to write about? And then who's going to be interested in it? And so aside from being able to have the grammar, being able to write something that has a coherency to it, so those are all things that go into getting it beyond just something that somebody's thinking about doing. But then once you have it in a format, being able to know how to then promote it and get it to market. And so in a traditional publishing world, you go back even 15, 20 years ago, then you certainly recognize that you kind of had the barrier. There weren't a lot of options if you wanted to do something yourself.
When you get into the writing zone, how does that feel for you as an author?
So I kind of answer that from listening to other authors and writers talk about what their writing process is. And so I think what describes it for me is this idea that I'm writing from the seat of my pants. Kind of Stephen King talks about in his memoir that he wrote as that he kind of sees it as being an archaeologist. He's got this mean little meme on his shoulder, a little guy, just I guess what he referred to in the book as as Zeus, or kind of this little figure that's smoking a cigar and kind of inspiring him to come up with a story. And so as I write my characters, I think that's one of the big things that I really dig into, is being able to fully develop a character, and so that you really form that opinion. And many people have told me that when they read the characters, they think of somebody maybe from their family. They can really identify some of those attributes back. And so character development's an important piece of it.
We've got about a minute left. So where can folks pick up Tungstein right now?
So right now there's the local booksellers, the Book Nook, Heart's Haven, and Book Barn. They go out to 321book.shop, and they'll be able to get an instant read. So if they have the Kindle, if they have any kind of software device, they'll be able to enjoy it immediately. And it's a nice evening read. So if you like the action fiction, something that's written in a screenplay style, that's where I would say you got a lot of flexibility. And then again, I just want to reinforce visiting the local booksellers, supporting those businesses too.
How much for a copy like this?
And so for that, the booksellers offer discounts, so they might be able to get a special deal if they go. There's limited supply of those.
All right. Tungstein, a novel by Ken Percival. I said that right?
You got it.
Okay, yeah. I got it. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for driving in from Merced as well. I know that's about an hour away, so we appreciate it.
Great. Thanks, Austin.
Thank you. You're watching Artists and Authors here on CentralValleyTalk.com and on YouTube TV, Facebook Live. We've got a busy day ahead. Many more guests live in the studio and via Zoom and Skype and all that good stuff. So don't go anywhere.